All right, Tom Roten Morning Show, 838, News Radio 800 WVHU, and online, 800WVHU.com. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate that. Monday, September 23rd, 2019, 73 downtown Huntington. Karl Priest, who's been on the program before, is a retired teacher and the author of a book that really... It predates the Tea Party, but it was the Tea Party. It was Protester Voices, the 1974 textbook Tea Party. And for those of you that have been around long enough, particularly in Kanawha County, you remember the textbook wars and the protests that took place back in 1974. Karl Priest has written about it, and he is in the studio now. As you're heading down to Marshall University today, right, Karl?
Yes, sir. That's where I'm headed.
Tell us what's going on. It's Banned Book Week, right?
Yeah, Banned Book Week's a big feel-good fundraising leftist week. A friend of mine called it the Liberals' Holy Week, and I want to go there and point out that leftists are censors.
Yeah, it's the leftists who have banned books in many cases. So where is your book available in libraries?
It's available in libraries, and I just found out that Marshall has it in their library. It's listed as a new book, and I think that's a result of me complaining recently that they had censored my book. I'm going to ask the lady when I get there just when it was shelved.
Interesting. So the Marshall website says Banned Books Week celebrates the freedom to choose and the freedom to express one's opinion, even if that opinion might be considered unorthodox or unpopular, stressing the importance of ensuring the availability of those viewpoints to all who wish to read them. But do you think that that's really a policy that's followed by the left?
It's absolutely not followed by the left. It's hypocritical. And Marshall, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, at least the library, maybe innocently had a couple of events on the Kanawha County Textbook protest. The last one was 2015 Banned Books Week, which I didn't find out about until a couple of years afterwards. And they didn't have anybody from my side there.
So you're saying that censorship leaves us in the dark, keep the lights on. It's time to shine a light on censors from the left. And you're headed to Marshall and talk about what you're going to be doing there.
Yeah, part of what you just said is their motto, I think the national motto about shining the light. What I'm going to do is ask Marshall to hold the light and shine it on the censorship and the propaganda that has plagued the Kanawha County textbook protesters. Thousands of honorable, good citizens have been maligned over the years since 1974.
For those that don't know, give us the brief synopsis of what happened in 1974, because a lot of those parents at the time have since passed on. So a lot of the people that were involved in that fight aren't around anymore, and a lot of people that were standing up for right aren't around anymore.
That's something really bothers me. A lot of the leaders are dead, and the ones that are still alive are aged, and their children and grandchildren are ashamed of what they did because of the propaganda. What happened, we think it was the launch of the culture war, and I don't know if they intentionally chose the Bible Belt, Kanawha County section of it to launch the battle for the hearts and minds of the children, but that's what happened. And thanks to a lady by the name of Alice Moore, who providentially was led here from out of state, we stood up and said, no, you're not taking our children.
So talk about that. This actually saw the textbook wars of 1974 actually saw some violence, right?
Yeah, there was violence, but we have to take in context. For example, liberals would not want to be, I hope they wouldn't want to be identified as Antifa. And the violence that Antifa has propagated on the nation that doesn't compare to what happened in 1974. Mm-hmm. And I put the violence in context. For one thing, and also for one thing, there was one person shot, and he was shot by a person who opposed the protesters. The media put a cover on that, and since then they've forgotten it. That's censorship. That's propaganda.
Mm-hmm. So what exactly was the Kanawha County Textbook War about?
Somebody, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, although it may have been intentional, wanted to launch textbooks and literature choices in the public schools that we noticed was going to undermine our values. And we said no. Now, of course, some people said keep the books out, but ultimately there was a compromise reached where parents could sign an opt-out, and most of the people in Kanawha County did sign an opt-out, and the books just sat until finally somebody burned them, and it wasn't us.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is they're doing censorship on your book, which talks about what they said was censorship on the textbooks, but it wasn't necessarily censorship. It was what the parents did not want taught to their children.
That's right, and taxpaying parents have a right to say that. Interestingly, a few years ago, WVU launched something on the curriculum regarding the textbook war, and I found out about it by accident. I wasn't invited, but I showed up and at WVU, and amazingly, they let me speak to the group that night. After that, I appeared before the Kanawha County Board of Education and offered a free set of my books to any high school that would let the students use them. Not one person, not one teacher took me up on that offer. Now they'll use the excuse that there's religion, but they have all kinds of religion in there.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's part of history.
Yes,
yes. Why it's important. Go ahead.
Till you get the last chapter of my book, it is not religious. It's the protesters telling their story and me reporting the facts.
Yeah. Again, we're talking with Karl Priest. He's going to be at Marshall University today as part of the banned books protest.
Drinko Library.
At the Drinko Library. And he's the author of a book about the 1974 textbook wars. Karl, and that's been so long ago, the things that parents and communities were fighting for then pale in comparison to what's being delivered to our young people in public schools today with this gender dysphoria and insanity of transgenders and drag queens reading to children with drag queen story time and so forth. It's unbelievable how far our nation has fallen since 1974.
Compared to now, what we were protesting is mild, but the point is conservatives and especially Christians need to get their children out of public schools, because if they don't get shot or beat up or molested by a teacher, which is the number one reason that teachers lose their license in West Virginia, they're going to be brainwashed. They're going to be harmed. It's unavoidable. I say rescue your children.
Yeah, and I should mention that you're the head of Exodus Mandate West Virginia, which encourages just that, particularly Christian parents to get their children out of the public school.
Absolutely. There's no excuse for parents now with technology. They can homeschool, they can do Christian schools, and churches need to make this a part of their missionary budget. It's more important to take care of their own children, in my opinion, than to worry about sending evangelists overseas. And I'm not against that. It's just my opinion of where their priorities should be.
I think probably, and it's hard to understand how, but I think probably a lot of churches, a lot of leadership in churches, they don't understand just how bad it is in the public school.
I wish they'd let me come and talk to them, or I wish they would at least go to my website ExodusMandate.us and click on the Exodus Mandate butterfly and get their eyes open. Then fall on their knees and pray and get direction on what to do.
Yeah. Protester Voices, the 1974 textbook Tea Party, written by Karl Priest, my guest here. It's about the Kanawha County textbook protest heroes, those who stood up for rights, stood up for family values, stood up for biblical values that were once promoted and celebrated in this state. And Karl, they fought against it, but who knows what would happen today in those types of cultural protests.
You use the word heroes. I encourage people to go to YouTube, search my name, Karl Priest, and look at some videos of those protesters. I think you'll see that you use the correct word, heroes.
Yeah. People who stand up for the truth.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. So Karl will be down at Marshall University this morning, right?
I'm going there as soon as I leave here.
All right. Good deal. Thank you for coming in, Karl. Appreciate it.
It's been my honor to be on the best talk radio show in West Virginia.
Thank you so much. All right. 8:49. We'll take a break and be back. You're listening to the Tom Roten Morning Show.